Good evening, Mr. White. These are the note cards that I was instructed to show 60 seconds before the explanation started. I'm not really sure if you can read that, but it's the clearest that it's going to get. Second card. And then the third card. The third card holds my sources and the information from those sources. In the background, you'll see my my two students, so to speak, that are supposed to be sitting back there. I'm not really sure if you can see them, but they are back there. There's two of them. Alright, let's begin. I remember a game back in like the 80s or 90s when I was a little bit younger, and it was called Q*bert, and a lot of people played the game. It was a big hit on the Apple, but a lot of people didn't realize that it was actually a thinking game because it's a puzzle. You basically hop around on squares and try to avoid the bad guys and make it all the way to the last square without getting touched. You can jump off it or you can jump onto the bad guys. If you jump onto the bad guys, it's game over if you jump on them more than 3 times. Now, you might wonder what I'm getting at here, but the point is, it's a thinking game and it helps you out. It helps you focus on things, and it helps you it gives you a goal and it makes you focus so that you can get to that goal. Well, video games are not as bad as people make them out to be. They can be educational, good for one's health, and in some cases can also sharpen one's senses. The games that I'm talking about as far as educational goes, on the Nintendo DS and Lite or Nintendo systems, there are games out there that are geared to help sharpen educational purposes. They can even teach languages, such as My French Coach or My Spanish Coach. They even have My English Coach for students who aren't bilingual yet. Games that help you out with your focus, there's games out there. One game is called Flash Focus, and it helps you to focus by pressing little points on the screen as fast as possible. These games are geared to help sharpen your hand-eye coordination. A lot of people don't know what this is for, but if you were playing sports or you're playing some type of activity where you would have to move and be quick on your feet, these are the types of games that will be helpful to your child if you have one. The games that's good for one's health, these are like fitness games. There's a Nintendo Wii out there, and I'm pretty sure mostly everyone has heard about these systems. But the Nintendo Wii, most of the games that they have on those systems come with a Wiimote, and the whole point of the Wiimote is for you to stand up and move around and interact with the games as like a virtual reality standpoint. Now, you're not really getting the most out of the game if you don't move. So that's why most of the games that they have start off a little slow, but as they pick up, you eventually get into the groove. There's another game out there that's on PS2 and 360 Xbox, known as Dance Dance Revolution. This game came over from Japan, and a lot of people know about this game as well. But if you don't know about this game, this is a game where they basically give you a dance mat, and the whole basis of the game is to hit the different arrows on the dance mat in synchronization with the arrows on the TV. This also helps focus and coordination because, well, if you miss the arrows, like I said before, it gives you a goal, and if you miss the arrows, you basically go under a certain point of points, and if you miss too many, the game's over. And with this combination of a goal set and different challenges to overcome, this can help your child or whoever it is playing the game to achieve these things. Now, from a negative standpoint, many people only seem to view games as being bad. Many people say that games only teach violence, and most of these people only look at the game Grand Theft Auto, or games where you basically run around doing nothing but causing terror and just making a whole lot of chaos. Now, these games, if watched correctly by parents before they purchase them, won't do so much damage. Like I said before, if the parents are actually doing their jobs. Also, many people say that video games tend to lead to childhood obesity, disobedience, and can also cause a decrease in social lives of children and teens. Now, this is appalling to me because if you are playing the Wii sports games or the Wii games or a lot of the Xbox games that's out there now, if you ask me, a lot of people, call their friends over and say, hey, do you want to play some games or whatever like that, and they usually get together and do these things. There are even things called LAN parties where you can connect from one system to the next and invite your friends via internet over to play the games. Now, I don't see how this is a decrease in social life, because the more friends you have, the more of a social life that you have. Childhood obesity mostly stems from people, as I stated before, that get these games and don't have a drive for them. They just play them as lazy as they can, and that's not what they're geared for. Disobedience, now that's just playing out, crazy. There have been some cases where people get so wrapped up in the video games that they don't listen to what's going on in the outside world because they're so focused on the game. And this can be fixed due to a proper gaming schedule. If you don't have one in your house, it's best to get one. You can have your child or whoever it is over at your house playing the games. You can have a certain time limit to that person, so that way they won't be on the game for so long and they can get chores and things in the real world done. A couple of the sources that I have, one is from Mr. Mike Snyder from USA Today, and he says boys are among the estimated 5 to 7% of children who have ADD, attention deficit disorder, and video games that were prescribed by their psychologists have also helped them to focus. Another source from Mr. Akila Talamasca from news.bigdownload.com states that video games not only increase hand-eye coordination, but in some even help with civic duty and strategy. By repetition in the mind, the body becomes adept at applying these same actions in regular life. And what that basically means is, the more you do these actions in the game, the better you'll be at it in the actual world. Now, as far as military strategy and civic duty, there are military games out there such as Call of Duty, SOCOM, and different games like that cause you to come up with military strategy and perform and carry out different actions. These games can be lapped in with violent games, but as I've stated before, when played in moderation, these things can be avoided. As far as there's another type of game, well, what I mean by repetition and different games like that help with civic duty, it's like there's this game for a Wii called Trauma Center, and in this game you basically take on the role of a trauma center nurse, and you basically you have to interact with the game by using the Wiimote and the attachment with it to get the stethoscopes and all the different items like that in order to perform a successful surgery. In conclusion, I would just like to state what I stated before, which is that video games are not as bad as people make them out to be. They can be educational, good for one's health, and can even sharpen one's senses. Now, in closing, I would just like to ask if there were any questions from the audience in the background. No questions? Okay. And that's my speech, and I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope it was informative to you. And don't be afraid to play those video games.